thank you for the introduction. This is Stephen Candy. I'm the Builder Division President here at Hyphen Solutions. We're excited to have everybody on today. I see some familiar names and some names that I'm not familiar with. So I would ask that if you have any questions as we go along, I like to have interaction on these webinars if we can. I wanted to introduce real quick Paul Robbins. He's Director of our National Accounts and Strategic Products. He's going to go through a new product that we're introducing to the marketplace this quarter. And Chris Sugg, who's our CIO. And I'll go through a quick 5-minute brief overview of Hyphen Solutions, what we're currently working on, the BRICS platform, and then we'll get into the main focus for today around security and payments. So on to the next slide, Paul. Really the mission statement for Hyphen Solutions is really, trying to find the most efficient and effective way to build a home. And that's really a two-way street. I call it a two-way real-time collaboration between the builders and their suppliers. And so we're constantly working with our builders on my division and on the builder side, as well as on the suppliers and manufacturer side. So we're always trying to find out or discover ways that we can reduce inefficiencies in the supply chain. And so, really that comes down to a heavy investment from Hyphen on an annual basis, where we're always adding new features, functionality that benefit the builders, but also trying to come up with creative ways that we can help the manufacturers and suppliers as they communicate with you real time through Build Pro and Supply Pro. So that's really at the heart of who Hyphen Solutions is, and really our charter on everything we do. One thing that I wanted to show real quick on the Hyphen Network is just some of the key statistics from the overall Hyphen Network. So we had over 300,000 homes built in 2019 on the Hyphen Network. We have over 13,000 suppliers across North America. So a very large and vast network of builders and suppliers using the Hyphen Network, again, to communicate real time in a two-way collaboration through a software as a service model. So you can also see some of the other key benefits here of that communication between the builders and suppliers. Over $43 billion in supply chain spend in 2019. And then, of course, we're expecting a pretty robust 2020. I think we all experienced probably a kind of horrific, March, April timeframe. But I think from majority of the builders I've talked to, everyone's been very surprised and happy with the rebound in the marketplace. We're expecting over 350,000 homes built this year on the Hyphen Network, and then the orders and supply chain obviously to continue increasing on the spend. So on to the next slide real quick, and I'll just, for people that are not familiar with Hyphen Solutions or kind of our overall network, if you will, this is the backbone of Hyphen Solutions, and really kind of my favorite slide that illustrates kind of what all Hyphen does and how we're engaged with not only our builders, but also with our suppliers and manufacturers. So Build Pro is there in the middle, scheduling, as I mentioned, the real-time collaboration between your construction managers and their suppliers. And then we have an integration into several different ERPs that we work with, different vendors and partners that we work with. Specifically today, we're talking about the BRICS ERP, and the continued investment that Hyphen makes in the BRICS ERP, but we also integrate to other partners and other platforms that we can go through if need be. And then on the right-hand side there, you'll see vendor applications and Supply Pro integration. So Supply Pro, again, over 13,000 suppliers across North America using Supply Pro to get their orders, schedule changes, quantity changes, things of that nature, in real time, and to reduce mistakes, reduce errors on the job site. And then one thing that I think a lot of people are probably not as familiar with is what we call Supply Pro Connect, or in this case, Supply Pro GM. And that's really integrated back into our suppliers and manufacturers' back office. So a perfect example is appliances. We have the three large major appliance manufacturers across North America that represent over 80% of the marketplace. And as an example, one of the things that we work with them on is reducing dry runs. So as an example, if an appliance were to be delivered out to a job site and the job site's not ready, they obviously can't leave the appliances there, or that they'll walk off that night. So how do we work with those manufacturers and their key builders to reduce dry runs, which in effect reduces the cost associated with that job site? So always working on new ways that we can help in the supply chain and help benefit the builders. And this down below that is just a list of our main modules that we offer. Again, Paul or I would be more than happy to go over all of these modules or capabilities. If you have any questions, we'll have the contact info at the very end. But feel free to reach out and ask any questions if you have anything as it relates to BuildPro and SupplyPro. And then on to the next slide, real quick, is a slide that represents our ERP platforms. So Hyphen Solutions has two platforms right now, Bricks and Homefront. We've made those acquisitions over the last 3 or 4 years, and we've really invested heavily in adding functionality, capabilities, and performance to those platforms. I think this is pretty representative of a typical job site, if you will, and the various stages and phases that occur during the construction of a home. So as we've gone through the last year or two, we've continued to invest in filling out this entire platform to allow an end-to-end solution for our home builders. One that I'd like to highlight, or actually two that I'll highlight on real quick, is CRM. We've made substantial upgrades to our CRM capabilities within the Bricks platform. We're very excited about that. And then the second one, and this is where we're going to talk about today, is around security and payments, is our wallet, our new product that we're calling Hyphen Wallet, that really talks or works through security issues and items and allows security, but also transparency in paying your vendors and the payments associated with the job site. And then the last thing I'd like to highlight on there is just full platform integration. We work with various partners in the home building industry, try to be agnostic where we can, and work with multiple partners and suppliers, again, to extend the capabilities of the Hyphen Network and allow the builders to work with as many partners as possible. So as we go into the next slide, Paul's going to take over from here and go through our wallet platform. I would ask again, if there's any questions, feel free to jump in or ask anything else that you might have. One thing I'll mention real quick. Sorry, Paul, if you don't go back, if you don't mind going back one. Chris just asked me I skipped over the warranty module and really talk about, we've had a homeowner portal and a warranty. I think we have a couple of builders on, large national builders on right now that use our warranty application. We've just had a ton of success around our warranty platform, continue to make enhancements and new features, add new features to that. And really the homeowner portal, allowing the new homeowner to have their own environment to create tickets or create warranty items or issues, and be able to track the completion of those tasks in real time. So again, giving that homeowner the capability of being able to have a feel, an environment personal to themselves for the new home as they go through that home buying experience. And so with that, Paul, if you don't mind here from taking over on the wallet platform, again, feel free to jump in and ask any questions if you have. I don't know if there's a chat feature on this, but again, I would love comments and questions as we go through this. Paul?
Yes, Stephen. Hi, everyone. This is Paul Robbins of Hyphen Solutions. And Stephen, thank you for the overview. more of the corporate background on Hyphen and many of the things that we do. I want to say hello and good morning and good afternoon for those that are joining West and for those that are on the East Coast. So I'm excited to have some time with you today. We're really been looking forward to this webinar and then working with Cornerstone. So one of the things that I want to kind of start touching on is over the span of the last year and a half, 2 years, and talking with Hyphen leadership, we always have been wanting to figure out how and continue to bring products and services to the marketplace that will help make the operations between the builder and the supplier, their trade base, more efficient, more fluid, greater optimization. So one of the things that we started to talk about was a payment solution. So this seemed to make sense. The more that we looked into it, the more it seemed to be, hey, there's an opportunity here. The market is in need of this. And when I say that too, please keep in mind that over numerous conversations that I've had with Chris Sugg, our CIO, and some of our clients, and obviously, and certainly conversations that we've had with the sales team and their client base that has interest in Hyphen Wallet, we've seen and received lots of different answers and pains and struggles around what we would call payments. And so we really feel like there's a way to kind of look at this opportunity in the marketplace to really automate something, automate an environment, automate a workflow that really becomes very important to both the builder and supplier alike. So, and in those conversations, I just want to point out too that we've spoken with very small builders that build 100 units, some even smaller, to those builders that build 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 homes. So we know and have had a lot of different questions and answers and communication. So I'm going to speak to really more about those conversations in a general sense. And certainly keep in mind, everybody's a little different, but I will reflect back on some of those conversations for sure to provide some color and flavor for this webinar. So let's talk about what today looks like in the marketplace. So for many organizations, printing, signing, stuffing, mailing checks is a large part of their payment operation. Not everybody, but certainly a number of builders still do that today. Some builders have very prominent and very significant payment solutions, but a lot of these builders still either have checks that go out or they have some type of payment solution in place. So what we see with those builders that have payment solutions, or I said say checks, written checks that they're trying to sign and go out, a lot of that environment is very manual. A lot of things that they have to do in order to reconcile payments in the current environment today is very paper driven, with multiple spreadsheets, printing out current and past bank statements, verifying invoice data by tracking down documents. So you can see that a lot of what is happening is manual hours, time spent tracking that information down, getting to that. And what we're looking to go to in is an environment that is more streamlined with bank reconciliation processes. Information that you can access quicker, faster, with less man hours involved, with greater accuracy, with the ability to even identify fraudulent charges faster. So today, fraud, let's talk about really what are the drivers that are really having or really driving the need for change. And if you look at one that really is becoming really significant, is fraud. Today, paper checks represent the largest attack or fraud within the industry for sure. Up to 82% organizations report that checks are the primary target for fraud attacks on their organization. Certainly, if you look at some of the numbers of most prevalent forms of check fraud, altering amounts on checks up to $158,000 per business is really just an average. That ranges from all over. And we've recently seen a big uptick in 2020 with fraudulent activity in the marketplace. If you've heard of BEC scams, and let's refer to that as business email compromise scams, it seems like it's a once a week occurrence now that we hear a lot about these types of scams. They're scams made to look and trick human behavior, not trick technology, but trick human behavior. And what happens is you have organizations or folks out there, criminals, that look at and study an organization. They look at communication. They understand the org chart. They understand who communicates with who. And you may have a CEO that has an email that comes in to someone that comes from the CEO to a subordinate that says, hey, we need to pay such and such account. We need to pay this supplier. And so you see a lot of those types of scams where people, to them, it just looks like it's just a regular email that is no different than an everyday practice of what they normally do. And so that's becoming a big part of the scam in the environment today. We see a lot of that. If you look at fraud, for sure, when you print a check and you think of all the different data that is on that check with addresses and account information, it just makes it ripe for fraud and all the different intermediaries between that check from the time it is signed until the time that it gets to the actual vendor or trade. There's so much of an opportunity for that to get in the hands of the wrong people. So I also want to point out too that a lot of the information that we're giving and providing to you today comes from a number of different articles, and specifically the one that I want to quote too is from the Wall Street Journal. Attempted check fraud is up from 8.5 billion in 2016 to 15.1 billion in 2018, and successful check fraud during that time frame is up 48%. So for sure, we see that check fraud really represents the greatest risk of fraud in payments. Certainly ACH has some type of fraud associated with it, but it's really also closely tied to these scams. So if by way of practice through an automated payment solution, organizations can really reduce that particular risk for fraud in the marketplace.
Paul, real quick. Sorry, just to interject real quick.
Sure.
And I would be interested to ask the audience here, and I think there is a chat feature. We've also seen there's multiple kinds of fraud, obviously, that Paul's alluded to. But one thing that I like to highlight to all of our builders, because we've seen it multiple times with both large national builders and small regional builders, is some of these email scams where it appears that a supplier is sending someone in purchasing an email stating that they're changing their bank account, and the purchasing person, unfortunately, feels like they know that person and recognize the email or whatever, and so they end up wiring money to a new account. And I just mentioned that because I want to make sure that the builders in the industry are aware that there's just a ton of this fraud going on, and to make sure that the builders have checks and balances, if you will, security capabilities in order to make sure that they don't become victims to this fraud. Again, because we've personally seen it through large national builders and regional builders. So just wanted to add that in there, Paul.
Yes, for sure. Stephen, too, in a lot of the conversations that we have, we were speaking with an organization last week that they lose a significant amount of checks in the mail to their trades and suppliers a quarter, and I was astounded by the number. So the comment from that particular builder was, I really don't see how we can even lose one. We need to limit it to zero. So yes, there's still that big component of lost checks in the mail, which then drives further labor costs, further things that have to be done to void checks, to reconcile in the back office on those particular checks. So there's a lot of reasons to be considered different types of payment forms going forward. Cost savings, time savings, they closely couple together. an average annual cost for an AP team to process payments over the span of a year can be $70,000 more. It can be obviously greater and even less than in some cases, but for sure there is time associated. And if you start thinking about, as I mentioned, those errors associated with checks that get lost or errors that are just made with checks in general, there's time spent to rectify those particular problems or those particular payments. So closely, assembled with that is something that we've seen over the last 6 months, kind of a unique time. There are even some of the builders that we talk to that like to deliver certain checks to certain suppliers and trades on the job site. Well, with COVID, that has really altered a lot of that in the future going forward, or even to some extent, some of these suppliers and trades would still come to the office. I don't believe most builders are doing that today, but it's still, there are a few that still have that process in place today. If you look at cost savings, certainly the opportunity for checks is the lowest processing piece, but the actual cheapest way to pay a particular supplier or trade is by way of ACH. And that is quickly becoming the preferred method of payment for builders and suppliers alike. There was an article, it is a bit dated, but there was something I saw that released from the Federal Reserve that said in 2013, there were over 40 billion checks that were mailed. That number has dropped significantly in 2018 to half. Certainly there are, ACH is growing quickly amongst the community where the technology is in place and is in favor. So today we see that there's great opportunity for cost savings. Now, one of the things too that we often want to ask when we speak with a number of different builders and we have our conversations is, what does it cost this organization or your organization to produce a check? And that varies from, we've been told $4 to $12. I will tell you that I've actually had a conversation with a large national builder that still has their CEO and CFO signing checks on Friday afternoons. And I was just astounded that was still the case today. So you could make a case that the Wall Street Journal says that it's anywhere from $8 to $10 per check to produce a signature check. I would tell you that would be higher if you have the likes of a CEO and CFO signing checks today. So just for own food for thought, keep in mind what that process looks like today for you to go through all the different labor functions, check delivery, supplies, bank fees, and everything associated to come up with a number of what it costs to produce a signature, a check. Anybody have any questions thus far on kind of the drivers of moving forward with an automated payment solution? No? So let's talk about more what are the factors. When you speak of the technology is now available. It's been available. As I mentioned, the opportunity for this industry to streamline that more than ever is available in terms of technology. Obviously, the need to reduce systemic risk is a big driver and continues to be. 2020 has been a record year for fraud and deception, certainly as we mentioned with VEC scams. One of the things that I want to point out too, that about a little over a year ago, 15 months ago, we had a CIO summit, and it was at that CIO summit that we introduced Hyphen Wallet, that we were going to be moving forward with a program that would automate payment solutions. And when we went around the room and we discussed what we felt like each individual organization's motivation may be to move to a more streamlined, automated practice of payment, one of the things that really stood out and was really somewhat surprising was most of the CIOs really kind of bought into the fact that it was improving that relationship with the supplier and trade to make that more of an offering that would further enhance that relationship, make things easier to do business, and really for that particular supplier want to do business with that particular builder, to make that builder the builder of choice for them. So that was very unique in that regard, and we were kind of excited to see that and hear that. So today, as we go forward and we're close to moving forward with, putting two beta clients out with Hyphen Wallet today, I want to start sharing with you the partnership that we've put in place. There's a number of features and capabilities that we wanted to come to market with. So today we are partnering with JP Morgan Chase. It is very important to share with you too that over 5,000 of the suppliers and trades that are on the Hyphen Bill Pro Supply Pro network have a Chase account. So it made sense to come to market with Chase. They have a long-standing history. Everyone knows Chase as a bank. So all the different features and functions that we want to provide to the market, to the builder, to the supplier, Chase is enabling us to do that. Not only just those specifically with Chase, but we're also looking to really bring a high-level application security for the application itself. We obviously we're stressing the need for authentication and sometimes it will be two-factor authentication going forward. But we also really want to make sure that we're providing both builder and supplier alike a high-level transaction information for the supplier and same for the builder. The ability to view payment detail is very important, and we'll show some of that today as we move further into some of the slides when we show you the actual application. Same with the supplier. I just want to point out that, or let me even back up for a second. I just want to make very, very certain of this point. Builders will not have to change their treasury banking operations with their current builder in order to work with Hyphen Wallet. They will need a Hyphen Wallet Chase account in order to fund transactions that will work by way of Hyphen Wallet and with the integration with Chase to then pay your suppliers. You will not have to change your bank. I just want to make that very clear today. But it will require one account with Chase. So the same for the supplier. What's really unique here for the supplier is we want to give them an opportunity to opt in to the form of payment that they wish to be paid. And so as we move forward with Chase, we will show you in a few slides here the number of different payment options that will be made available to the supplier. So they will obviously have the ability to manage secure ACH real-time bank information, same level of application security and multi-factor authentication for the supplier. They'll have the same ability to look at payment history, transaction information. The same thing that we want to provide the builder is the same thing that we'll want to provide the supplier. In essence, we want to provide the supplier with the ability to manage their cash, the cash flow, so they can maintain and keep operations and stay busy and stay working for the builder. So as I mentioned just above, that we'll have a number of different payment options provided to the supplier. If you look at these particular lists, the only one that will not be available from the time that we sign up an organization will be real-time payment. We will have manual checks. We will have ACH, wire, push to card, and same-day ACH. But real-time payment will be in a future release, but the other 5 categories of payment will be made available to the supplier, and they will have the ability to opt in and choose the form of payment in which they wish to be paid. Real quick, streamlined payment process. One of the things about Hyphen Solutions and our technology is it's meant to be disruptive but connected. And what do I mean by that? So when I think of, some of you know about obviously Bill Pro, Supply Pro, a change in one system creates a change in another system. In the future release, we'll have the ability for notifications to go to the supplier that will inform the supplier that, hey, you are going to be receiving payment from X builder. This is your default payment. They will be able to then go back into their portal, their website, go in and either manage their particular payment for that particular payment from that particular builder in the form and fashion in which they wish to be paid. we really felt like this was a great offering and a great way to provide a self-service component to the actual supplier. And if you think about what the vision of Hyphen Solution is really trying to serve, is that with Hyphen Build Pro and Supply Pro, we're driving the supplier to one location for all their POs, for all their liens, all their orders, change orders. The same thing, the same model that we want to carry going forward, we want to deliver with Hyphen Wallet. We want to give them one place to go manage all their payments for all the unique different builders that they will work for, and manage their payment from those different builders that are utilizing Hyphen Wallet from one location. Very important. Chris, I will let you cover this slide if you have a second.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Talked a lot about the benefits, kind of the workflow. What I thought I'd really made sense right now is to really take you from the very beginning of the process to the very end. You can kind of see the detailed workflow, that we've created here. A couple things to note, as Paul mentioned, security is definitely at the front of this. In many cases, when builders are communicating with their bank to do ACHs, they're the ones that are having to provide that ACH information of their suppliers and how they want to get paid, which means they need to store those bank accounts for each of the suppliers, so they send them to their bank account. That's not what you have to do here. So we've taken all the PII requirements and getting hacked and having all your suppliers' bank accounts stolen. All that is off the table because you don't have to store any of that information. And then, as Paul mentioned, we're allowing the suppliers to be able to receive the funds how they want to be able to receive the funds. So, for them, access to capital is the biggest thing that they need to help them grow. And so for them to grow their business, for them to purchase materials quicker, to have more inventory, helps them become bigger, helps them be able to service you better, be able to do more work for you, which really just grows, your relationship that you have with the supplier. And so getting them that access to capital is really the number one thing that they need to enable to grow their business, which really helps you to become, that builder of choice, as Paul mentioned. So thought we'd start out here at the far left, where inside of Build Pro, the task is completed. If we also work with Build Pro builders as well. So in our case, the Build Pro task is completed. That means the construction manager in the field is sign off on that particular purchase order. That information is integrated to the back office of your ERP system. And so it unlocks that PO completion approval. That payment batch is then created. Payments are approved in the ERP system. Those transactions, once a final approval of a payment batch in your back office system has been finalized, those transactions are sent to Hyphen Wallet. So for instance, on Wednesday, you approve everything for the last week or two, put into a batch, and on Wednesday you approve that batch. That batch of transactions is sent to Hyphen Wallet via secured API. So everything's running an API and Amazon Web Services in the cloud to manage all this information. So built on the latest technology. So we hold those transactions inside of Hyphen Wallet, and we wait for the builder for you to fund those. So once those payment transactions come into Wallet, we're able to notify those suppliers that a payment is coming. And within Hyphen Wallet, the supplier can then choose how they want to be paid, or they can leave it as their default payment method. Multiple payment methods are available for the suppliers to be able to switch. They can actually switch every single time that they get paid by a particular builder. So if they got paid by check one time, but they need the information and the money a little faster, they can choose same day ACH this week. So it really varies, and it really is up to the supplier and how they want to get paid, because their business changes on a weekly basis, and they may need more access to capital or cash, right? So let's say that happens on Thursday, and then they're able to change their payment method. Now moving on to the middle, as Paul mentioned, the builder now funds let's say the payment batch was for $5,000. The builder then funds the Chase account on Friday with $5,000. And so once we see, we're always looking for that funding from the builder. And as soon as we see it, then we release those payments to Chase. Chase processes those payments. And however method that each supplier chose to be paid, that payment status is monitored in real time. So if the supplier chooses a real-time payment in 20 seconds, their cash is in their bank account. If they choose ACH, it's a couple of days. If they choose same-day ACH, it's that day. And if they get cut a check, then it'll be mailed to them, right, as it does today. And all those statuses of all those different payment processes are all monitored and processed and sent to the back office ERP system in real time via an API. So we've got integration that comes back to you on the statuses of each of those payments, so you can stay within your ERP system, know exactly what's happening out there in the payment processing world, so that you can answer any questions that anybody might have about where any payments are. You've also got the ability to have a Hyphen Wallet application as well for you to see those statuses in real time. So after the payments have been completed, then what we actually do is we integrate the auto reconciliation back in real time. So no trying to go and manually pull down a statement and reconcile each individual check or transaction that went through your bank and mark it as complete. We actually do that automatically for you in real time. So you don't have to wait in order for you to do that process. So really from the very beginning of the process to the end, it's fully automated and able to see exactly what's happening across the entire workflow at any given time. So thanks, Paul. Cool. So this is just a high-level overview of what we kind of went through that kind of simplifies it a little bit and takes our Bricks application, which we've made updates to in order to be able to easily approve payments within the application during that payment batch, and as well as being able to take the real-time status updates back from Hyphen Wallet once the payments are completed and funded to the suppliers. So really starts with the ERP system, goes into Hyphen Wallet, suppliers choose how they want to be paid. And this is really for all suppliers, so not just even construction suppliers, but the goal is to take all payments that a builder sends out and to be able to send them through Wallet, whether or not they're on Supply Pro today or not on Supply Pro today. This is a free application for any vendor to be able to get paid how they want to get paid. So the supplier chooses that payment method, Chase distributes those payments, and then we send those real-time updates back up into the Bricks system or any other ERP system, as we've got an open API integration for you to accept it in any way.
Chris, I think the next step in the communication here is to give a walkthrough or demo of some of the work you have. So I'm actually going to, you've covered the last slide up to that point, so let me turn over to you.
Great, thanks, Paul. Everybody can see my screen now, yes? So.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. Yeah, so I've logged into our Hyphen Wallet application. Like I said, there's one for the builders to be able to track their workflow, and one for the suppliers to be able to do the same thing. And so the wallet is embedded within Supply Pro, so it's an easy way, as Paul mentioned, to come to one place to do everything, right? If you're doing ACH with an individual bank, then now every supplier that you deal with and every builder that each supplier deals with is going into 50, 100 different banks to be able to put in all their information. In this case, they put it in one time, it's stored, and so they have one place to come to get all remittance information, store their information one time. It's like Paul said, it's what we do to make it easy for the suppliers to get all their orders and everything from our builders. and Bill Pro. So you've got a user administration. We lock it down as tight as we can to one administration, be able to actually make changes, and then other users to be able to view the information that's coming in to try to make sure that the system is most secured as possible. There's a dashboard that can kind of tell you who the payor was and who the payee was. So who the payments are coming from, who the payments are going to. You can also see the batches that you funded and how much you funded and when you funded each batch into the Chase account that matches your batch that you want to be paid. You can see the detailed information within each one of these batches. And then for the suppliers, they're able to go in and look at each one of the payees, in this case, Mr. Plumbing, we're in as, and we can actually see each individual payment, how we got paid, what we got paid. And then, one of the big complaints from the ACH information is that there's no remittance information, which is one reason they really like checks, right? And so what we've provided here is the ability for every single payment by every single builder, the ability for them to be able to go in and click on that payment that they received from the builder and be able to look at it for their invoice numbers, project numbers, cost code, descriptions, approval dates, detailed payments for each one of the purchase orders, and then be able to download it in Excel or PDF so that they can take that information and then go up and reconcile that information into whether it's QuickBooks Online, Sage 300, or whatever back office system that they've got to be able to take that information and upload it and reconcile their information all from Hyphen Wallet. So all that reconciliation information is in detail and able to be downloaded by them, right? So you'll never know, we'll never have to ask what I got paid, how did I get paid, and what did I get paid for, because your purchase order number, which is really what they go by, is all in the system, the date, and some cost code information, obviously description of what happened. All that information is actually within Hyphen Wallet for them to be able to download and reconcile to make sure that they got paid for everything that they should have been paid for in this check run or payment run. Then on the payment method side, this is where they can go in and select their payment method for each builder on how they want to get paid, right? So whether it's for the ACH information, or if they want to do manual check or any other payment method that we support, they just hit the drop down and select their printed check or ACH and hit save. So really kind of easy application to be able for them to be able to manage how they want to get paid, look at all the payments from all their builders in one location, and then store that payment information, that one time, so they can be associated to each builder. So it really streamlines their security, their way to be able to get paid, and their ability to be able to get that information and get those payments. So cool. Awesome. All right, Paul, I'll give it back to you as we
okay. Thank you, Chris.
Paul, as you're taking back over, we've only got about 10, 15 minutes left, so I want to make sure you're able to cover the rest of the material here, but also want to encourage, if there's any questions from the audience, to please either submit something via chat or just speak up and ask the questions. We'll make sure we cover anything that you might have. Go ahead, Paul.
Sure, thanks, Stephen. So definitely, time has flown by. As Stephen noted, I want to leave a little bit of time for questions. So we've got a handful more slides to go through, but one of the things that we wanted to cover as well, just a couple of quick slides, was through conversations and dialogue with a number of the different Bricks clients and Bricks prospects, was we have the ability to provide approvals within Bricks for payment batch, or whether that payment is by there is no approval set on a particular payment, or approval required on every batch, or approvals that are required based upon the size of the actual check or payment itself. So we felt like, listening to our clients and future prospects, that this was a feature that we wanted to add. And certainly I'll note too that if there's more detail or you'd like to know more about this, we we'll certainly can have a one-off with anyone that would like to do that, and I'll have information at the end of the slide deck where you can reach out and talk to us about your interest in knowing more on the operations within Bricks, certainly for the approval process. Just another quick shot is the grid views for vendor payments. As I mentioned, a batch grid view through a check grid view, and within the check grid view, obviously a transaction view that the back office or those that are working within the ERP can see. So hopefully that provides a little bit of assistance and a value add for our Bricks clients. Auto reconciliation too, as Chris and I both pointed out, auto reconciliation is a key component. Certainly both builder and supplier alike will want to be able to see the different payment statuses, when they were created, funded, and completed. So that is a kind of a look and feel of how that will be within Bricks, but certainly it is important for us to fulfill what we want to show within auto reconciliation or the different payment statuses. One of the things that's becoming more and more important as we move forward with bringing this to market and signing up builders is having an implementation plan. What does that look like? What are the steps that need to be put in place to formalize the communication to the builder, formalize the communication to the supplier? How do we select those suppliers that we want to work with or work through with Hyphen Wallet? So we've got a program. This might change over time, but certainly this is what we're working with now. So as the builder signs their wallet agreement, we will then have forms that they will need to sign, what we call a Know Your Client, KYC, and AML form. Really what we want to do is just make sure that, businesses and the credit, the background checks, everything that is what we need it to be matches and makes the right sense for going forward. I'm more concerned about that on the supplier side as to how they're doing business as a particular entity, but certainly we will need forms signed. We will work with the builder to target the initial set of suppliers and trades that will want to be paid. So that communication becomes important. We've created a number of introductory letters that go both to the builder and to the supplier to manage that communication. So we're learning a little bit as we go, but certainly we feel like we've got a pretty good hold on what that needs to be as we've signed up with a couple builders as we go beta here in the next 2 weeks. Same thing pretty much as I mentioned for the builders, the same for the supplier. We just want to know how they're doing business, their credit, everything that we would need to do from a compliance standpoint. We'll have those forms. We'll work with some of the initial suppliers to get them signed up and trained and how this will work. So, when you think about once the licensing of the application, it then becomes, well, how do we make this work? So we actually have documents that are in place that will help support the onboarding of those particular builders and suppliers. Future release, we're going to obviously have notification and the Hyphen Wallet on the phone or the iPhone and Android. So looking forward to this. This is not in the next 3 months, but it's certainly on the radar and certainly on the roadmap. And last, I just want to cover some of the benefits. We've talked a lot about them as we've gone through this. I really feel like that what we're trying to do is really make those operations, both from a build pro, supply pro standpoint to now to a payments offering that really helps bring stickiness and more fluid operations between the builder supplier, just by giving them another location to go to manage how they're paid, to have visibility into those payments, to manage cash flow so they can stay working with their particular builders. We certainly want to reduce fraud and risk for both parties alike. And we definitely feel like it'll be a savings on cost and time. So all the things that we talked about that are drivers are certainly benefits that we want to see and realize within the marketplace today. So very excited about it. And I think we're at a point now where I wanted to leave some time for questions. I have it about 10 till, so please ask any questions you may have, and we would love to answer. Surely somebody's got a question out there. Anyone?
Yeah, it's a pretty quiet crowd. Yeah.
Well, Steven may throw out some free Bill Pro licenses if someone asks a question.
Oh.
I'm kidding, of course. But please, if there's anybody that wants to know anything, or if you want to take some time to have a more of a one-off deep dive, we can certainly do that too. I believe here is some contact information for myself, Paul Robbins, my email address, and my cell phone number. So please know that you can call me anytime. But
you do have a question in the chat area.
Does it support joint checks? Was the question, Chris?
Yeah, it should handle joint checks as well. The same process that you use to cut a check to two different people and send it to the one and have them sign both to cash it. Same principle there. Yep.
good question.
All right. Awesome webinar, Stephen, Paul, Chris, and team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.